There we go. We are recording now.
Good evening. The meeting of the Tomball ISD Board of Trustees is called to order at 5:34 p.m. Central. For the record, a quorum of the board is present. All trustees are in attendance tonight. We are gathered in the John P. Neubauer Administration Building in Tomball, Texas. The meeting is being recorded in accordance with Government Code 551.128. We would like to welcome those in attendance tonight, looking at you, and certainly those that are attending online. So thanks for being here. The Board of Trustees' role is to set goals, review reports, approve a budget, contracts, and personnel appointments, as well as to establish policies for the district. It is the superintendent's role and responsibility to handle the day-to-day operations of the district. And we have policies and procedures in place to address any concerns. This is a business meeting of the Board of Trustees that is open to the public. However, it is not a meeting of the public. Public participation is limited to designated times during the meeting for citizen comment for those that have registered to speak in accordance with board procedures. We ask for your cooperation in ensuring that the meeting runs in an orderly manner. I would offer that board members have received items related to tonight's agenda, this meeting, and have had the opportunity in Monday night's workshop meeting, that was last night, to ask the superintendent questions related to the agenda items. These items on the agenda for tonight's meeting may not be handled in the order of the agenda. Additionally, if the board determines at any point during the meeting that needs to convene an executive session, the board will do so in accordance with sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. Board did want to give you a heads up. We will be going into closed session after we work through a report as well as the business agenda. Opening remarks this evening will be provided by Mrs. Tina Salem. Pledges will be led by Mr. Coco White, and the mission statement will be recited by Mr. Mark Lewandowski. And so, Mrs. Salem, I turn the meeting over to you for opening remarks.
I'm going to say a prayer for my opening remarks if you'd like to stand and bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. And as we are in the season of thankfulness, please just let us come before you with thankful hearts. And we just ask you to give us wisdom to make the best decisions for our district. And we ask you to put your hand of protection upon our district. And just as everyone goes on their travels for this season, that you protect them and guide us, Lord. And we love you, and we just thank you for all of the many blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much. Public comments on agenda items, non-agenda items. Has anyone signed up?
No.
Okay. So board, no one has signed up for public comments on agenda items nor public comment on non-agenda items. And so I will now turn the meeting over to our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Martha Salazar Zamora, to proceed with a report, not reports, a report.
A report tonight,
Okay.
yes, that is correct. Good evening, President Dr. Pratt, members of the board, those of you in the audience this evening. We do have one report this evening, a very important report, which is an update on our district zone reset, referred to as DZR. Dr. Stephen Gutierrez, our Chief Operating Officer, will lead us in this discussion, and I believe, hello, Rocky, we have our friend from formerly Templeton Demographics, now with Zonda, same company, different name, to give us insight into this important topic. Dr. G.
Awesome. Good evening, President Pratt, Dr. Salazar Zamora, members of the board. Before I get started, Dr. Pratt and all of those who have served in our military would like to wish you a happy Veterans Day, and to all those who are listening online. Today, I bring forward a brief report on Phase 3 implementation of District Zone Reset. Just as a recap, District Zone Reset was really born out of voter approval for Bond 2021. And so you see here, Phase 1 included West Elementary School in the 24-25 school year, West Intermediate this year, and next year looking ahead to the Creekside Park Junior High Complex 5-8 addition and Tomball West High School next year. So again, just a recap, we started the DZR process in the fall of 2023. And so just a couple of bullet points to remind you about that. It was a comprehensive process. It was a committee mostly made up of parents, and it had staff available for questions. We incorporated a tremendous amount of feedback and input from parents, thought exchange, surveys, written comments. All of our maps, notes, documents, videos are available for review back then in 2023, and they're still available now. I believe there's almost 10 hours of actual footage from our meeting still available if anyone is curious. That is tombalisd.net/DZR, in case you're wondering. Again, looking for parental feedback. This did impact every single zone. And so parents wanted to know, what was that long-term plan? And so we did enact Phase 1, 2, and 3, which the board has already approved Phase 1 and Phase 2, and endorsed Phase 3 in the fall of 2023. There was an annual commitment to review that work, to review the projections, ensure accuracy, and as always, that final approval before implementation comes before the board, which will be in December. Again, just another representation here, Phase 1 and 2, impacting elementary. Phase 2 that we did this year with the opening of West Intermediate was our intermediate and junior high schools. Phase 3 was the K-4 reconfiguration out in Creekside, with, again, the addition for the 5-8. High schools, again, just a reminder, 11th and 12th grade at Tomball High School and Memorial remain unaffected. This would impact 9th and 10th graders at Tomball High School, Tomball Memorial, and Tomball West High School. Okay, let's jump in. We implemented, this is what we did also in Phase 1. We reviewed, we said these were the numbers, and this is the actual result. So in the fall of 2023, with Rocky's assistance, we projected the enrollment with the DZR projected enrollment from fall 2023. You see our PEAM snapshot date, which was Halloween, October 31st, and you see our official report number there. And then a column just for transparency. What was the difference? 2 years ago, we looked in the crystal ball, read all of the data, all of Rocky's support, and we see what that was. And so just a couple of factors there to put all of these numbers into context. You might wonder, what happened at Tomball Intermediate and Tomball West Intermediate, or West Intermediate and Tomball Intermediate? When we did these projections in the fall of 2023, our bilingual program, the students continuing through our two-way from Rose Hill, were pointed to Tomball Intermediate. And so with the opening of West, we used some of that additional capacity and rerouted those students to remain in that feeder pattern going from Rose Hill to West Intermediate. So that accounts for the shift. Roughly those numbers are equal in size, so we were pretty much on point there. What we're going to talk about a little bit later, you see the increase with Grand Lakes. I think that is consistent what you're seeing in the southwestern portion of our district, with all of that land, rural land converting to new homes and subdivisions. We're seeing increased market or growth out there. But what Rocky's going to talk about here shortly, since we've done this work and even really trending before that, there has been a slowdown in the Tomball area. Several years ago, we're really putting the fast into fast growth upwards in our heyday, 8%, 6%. We start to see a decrease to 3%. You heard Mark yesterday talk about our enrollment numbers at a 1.8% growth. And so all of that has really resulted, especially at the secondary, a revision of our numbers to be a little bit more conservative. And so that does ensure that, we're not shooting for something, a kind of a pie in the sky number, but being realistic about what the data is showing. And so with that, I'm going to call up Rocky Gardner, again with Zonda Demographics, to talk a little bit about our fall 2025 enrollment and give us a brief overview of the housing market and how all that plays into projections. Thank you for being here, Rocky.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Awesome. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Samora. It's a pleasure to be back in Tomball. I always loved coming out to Tomball. So I hope it's going to be a short presentation, so you're not going to see a lot of me tonight. So that might be a blessing for some. We're just going to jump right into and talk about housing, because that's been the biggest concern. This is something that's been happening not just in Tomball, but in other areas. But starts and closings have declined slightly over the last year. So a year ago, when we were looking at numbers, we had about 800 starts at this time of the year. Fast forward a year, you can see that 154, the 131, the 192, a little bit lower. We're probably going to finish the year right around 700 starts. Compared to last year, that's down about 300 homes. And your closings are going to finish very similarly. It's going to be a little bit higher because they're working off that inventory, but we're definitely seeing a slowdown in housing right now. The vacant developed lots are, let me see. There we go. Oh, wait, sorry. The vacant developed lots are there, but they're just not building them as fast. They're working off inventory, and it's going a little bit slower. The challenge really has been in yields. The yields have declined as well. So not only have they slowed down, but we're getting less students out of each home. And this happened just last year, this year even. We saw some significant yield drops in some of your active developments. This newcomer leaver file we introduced a few years ago. So just to remind you that a newcomer is a student that was in Tomball last year, was not there last year, but is there this year. They're a newcomer. That's based on student IDs that were provided by the district. So if you're a newcomer, you're a 1st through 12th grader that was not in the system last year. We don't include kindergarten because for the most part, those are all new students, with the exceptions that some that may have been pre-K. Now, a leaver is a student that was in your system. We had the student ID last year, and they're not in your system this year. And these are kindergarten through 11th graders, because all 12th graders leave, or we hope so, right? So your leavers have actually leveled off there about 1,700, but you can see the difference there has been that newcomers. Our newcomers really slowed down this year, and again, that's back to the yields of the housing. This new housing is just not yielding as many students. We think there's several things involved in that, whether it's school of choice, whether it's homeschooling, virtual schooling. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But it's also the fact that we're just not seeing students in public schools. Last year, we added about 13,000 students statewide. Now, that's combined charter and ISD students. 13,000 growth. The year before that, right at 13,000. Right after COVID, we had a couple years of pretty strong bounce back. Okay, we had 55,000, 90,000. We really thought you were going to be back on trend after that 90,000, because the state was adding about 50,000 students a year leading up to COVID. But that has not been realized. What we've seen now is that parents are making different choices, and things are happening that we're not seeing that true growth. And to kind of emphasize that a little bit, charter school enrollment added 12,795 students last year. If you remember that previous slide I was just on, overall we only grew 13,000. So that means that left very few students that were actually in brick and mortar ISDs last year. We also saw virtual enrollment skip up by 15,000 students. So that's another 15,000 students that weren't coming to school, which means brick and mortar declined last year by about 15,000 students, likely. And we think that number is going to show up this year as a decline overall. We really believe that overall ISD enrollment's likely to decline by as much as 20,000 students next year. So this is hitting all over the state. It's a challenge, and I think it's one that's being tackled different ways all over the state. Unfortunately, we actually are doing more projects now where we're closing schools than where we're opening schools. That shift happened last year for the first time. So we are in different territory right now. Homeschooling is the thing that everyone's talking about. We think there's probably been an additional 20 to 30,000 students homeschooling in Texas just since COVID. These are some information we got from the Census Bureau. We're looking at nationally well over 4 million students that are homeschooling. It kind of bounces around in that first slide because of the way homeschooling reports it. And that's been a real challenge for us too, is tracking homeschool. But you can see California leads the country in homeschooling, followed by Texas. Part of this is a little bit skewed just because the populations of California and Texas are so large. So percent-wise, we're really not probably a percent of population-wise drawing that many more than like a Florida or somewhere else. But we are seeing a big jump. Withdrawals to homeschool in Texas, you can see there was like 50,000 students that, when you're looking at 21, 22, and 22, 23. I added this little chart at the bottom there. We have one client that we went into and we talked to. We said, let's just look at what your codes were. So in 2022, they had 424 students withdraw. In 2023, it was 490. 2024 it was 520. And just through the first 2 months of this year, they've had 267 withdrawals to homeschools. So we're really seeing this strong trend. And it's being led a lot by these pods that you've heard of or seen. There are these homeschool coalitions, homeschool pods. There's these nonprofit coalitions out there that are actually helping to fund these pods. They're nonprofits, but they're giving money to help form these pods. Then that way they can go together at a church or at a local facility, and they can teach multiple students that they're homeschooling. But again, it's with help. Some of these pods even hire a teacher to the parents go together and they hire a teacher to help with the project. So with that, last year we added 310 students in Tomball. I forecasted to be a little higher, a little lower than that. 46 students, I missed it by 46 students. So that really, it looks kind of good. I want to be within 1%, and I was within about, a 0.2%. But what worries me is what happened. You exceeded my forecast at elementary school, but at 6th through 11th grade, fell below my forecast. And that's why we see some adjustments to your high school enrollment projections. You can see I've circled the cohorts at the bottom. 6th through 11th cohorts have declined for 4 straight years. Now, by cohort, I'm talking about how many 5th graders become 6th, 6th becomes 7th. So that number down there is kind of a capture rate. So when it's above 1, that means that grade's growing. Like if 5th grade had 100 one year, then in 6th grade is 120, that's a positive growth. So we're still seeing some positive growth there, but overall, the trend has been declining in these secondary levels. And this has to do with some of the students that are picking school of choice. They're somewhere else. 25, 26 enrollment we did exceed forecast by 46 students, but again, I want to keep an eye on that. The good news, if I can mention this, kindergarten enrollment, jumped up to 1452, and what's happening with your 12th grade enrollment being 1,700, you've got about 250 students that you lose just through attrition. So when you see that positive 310 is really we added about 500 students because of that attrition. So we are seeing some positive trends. It's just that it's being covered up a little bit by these exiting class sizes. So finally, what we've done this year, we're forecasting next year's growth to be about 23,670. I think you'll be, pushing 27,000 at the end of this 10 years. For the first time ever, Templeton Zonda we've put in low and high forecasts. We've never done this historically, but some of the shifts recently have been so strong, and with vouchers coming next year, there's a lot of stuff in the wind that we wanted to kind of give you an idea of what could happen if certain things, if the slowdown in housing continues, if homeschooling and private school impacts continue to be the way they are now, if vouchers begin to show some impact. I really don't think vouchers are going to impact Tomball as much as they will some of the surrounding areas initially. But even next year, we're not really going to know the impacts of vouchers for probably 2 or 3 years. And then you have our mid-range projections that basically I'm just saying things are going to stay on trend. We're going to stay right about where our averages are. And then, of course, my high projection there, that 27.5, it's not real high because I think that we're pretty optimistic with our mid-range. But we might see some slight increase in housing yields. I think schools opening always help yields increase. They attract some stuff, so we might see a little bit of a jump next year just because of that. And finally, so again, enrollment increased by over 3,000 students last 5 years. 500 students, they're new to the school this year. New home starts are slowing. We think it's going to look a little different until they can pick things up again. And again, I think 27,000 is probably the sweet spot, in the 8 to 10 years.
So this is kind of a nice pause here, because after this, I'm going to jump back into a little bit of the phase presentation work with DZR. But I did want to pause and offer some questions for Rocky before he sits back down for the portion of the presentation.
Mrs. Cracky.
So on the top left, where it says increase 494, that's the 500 that you mentioned, minus attrition
Yeah,
gives us the 310, right?
Yes, that's pretty close to that. I think our research analyst, I talked to her about it, but I didn't intend for her to put it in here. I actually would prefer that have been your actual, what you saw, the 300 that you saw, but that is what she did.
I like knowing both. I think that's very useful and something that we should be cognizant of.
I think it'd be a great slide to show sometime.
Yes.
To see that trend, that cohort trend.
And the previous slide where you use the term leaver, that's referring to what you're also saying, attrition, right? It's not people moving out, housing turnover. It
No,
includes
no.
that and people who are,
Because it doesn't include the attrition. It doesn't include 12th graders. So our leavers are just kindergarten through 11th graders whose student ID was not in the system, was in the system last year, but is not there this year. So in theory, they should be in the district.
okay.
So they have left us for another group,
Attrition
another
for
public
whatever
school,
reason.
another entity, non-public. It means they have left us, in other words. They are leavers.
And then on your house, your closings, I'm sure you forecast that out. Does the mortgage rate forecast play into that?
It is likely, now what's happening in a lot of these, the larger developments, the builders can sometimes help a buyer buy down some interest rates, so they could help a little bit with that. But that is why I mentioned in the high forecast, it talks about if mortgage rates drop a little bit, we might start seeing some numbers jump up a little bit, but we are kind of keeping an eye on that. But it's the starts that are creating the closings, and those have slowed down quite a bit.
I'm just wondering if the mortgage rates come down substantially, there's going to be a shakeup right? There's going to be turnover, and I would think typically in Tomball the turnover would be older couples maybe who are down. In my neighborhood, I've had older couples downsizing, right? And those homes are filling in with younger families with children. So I would think.
That's the hope.
Okay.
Yep.
But we engage twice a year, right?
Yes.
We refresh this twice a year. And so what's always helpful that I find value in, what'd you say the last time you were here? And then what are you saying now? And I'd like to see the ping pong over time to
See
kind
the-
of help
I'm
the
sorry.
ping pong.
Ping pong, the
Right.
movement,
Yeah. What
In the next-
the adjustment to your forecast.
right.
Right.
That would happen in March or April when we
Right.
come back
So
out.
twice a year. What'd you
Yes.
say when you were here last time? What was it? And what's the revision to that? And
I
then we
see.
kind of understand over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, so we can judge you.
Right.
We
Well, I
want to judge
appreciate
you,
that.
Rocky. You know I do.
I know.
Right? I want to know how good you are. Right? Everybody says you're within 1%. It's really 3%.
Could be,
But
yeah.
you need to show us that so we're not questioning what we're. Help us a little bit more with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll
Thank
stay.
you, Rocky.
I'll
Good
be
to see
around.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rocky, for being here. All right, so I'm going to jump back into, that was just a little bit of background with some of the numbers there as we talked about reviewing Phase 2. So jumping into Phase 3. Phase 3 was looking at the Creekside area, looking at our elementaries. And so I do, just for quick reference, the yellow boxes there, those we're going to swap. And the teal oval there, that is area that's Tunica Pass and Paloma Cove, moving from Timber Creek to Creekside Forest. Spoiler alert, we did, just going to put the big idea up front and then go through a little bit of the context of the work that was done in Phase 3. But we did send a communication out late last week informing parents after reviewing data. that we were putting a pause on phase 3 elementary implementation. Really the big relief, and we'll kind of go through the next couple of slides to get there, but I did want to just address that publicly for everyone. So let's quickly go into phase 3. The areas that I did mention in the 2 boxes were Tiburon, moving from Timber Creek back to Creekview, and then Fairway Farms and associated areas in the Huff Smith area, moving from Timber Creek or to Timber Creek from Creekview. And again, the smaller neighborhoods increasing enrollment at Creekside Forest. These were adjustments that were discussed during the DZR process. This was really born out of parent feedback addressing safety concerns crossing Kirkendall and Creekside Forest Drive. So really, this phase 3 plan was listening to parents' initial concern about the need for distribution, which I will also comment on later in the slide. As we've done for previous implementation of district zone reset, we did commit to, again, gathering more information, reviewing the data, ensuring that it was accurate, and in many cases, asking parents for additional feedback for preference as additional data point. Let's jump into a little bit of history, a little Creekside rezone context. In 2022, we did rezone. We did an administrative boundary adjustment in this area due to growth and unequal distribution of student enrollment. So let's just take a look. We had Creekview. It was over 1,000 students. You see the capacity utilization, while the other 2 had plenty of space. And we did have parents questioning, hey, we're out in portable buildings. We lost our PTO room, our science lab. We need to spread the wealth here. And so we did just that. And so in fall 22, you see a more balanced enrollment across the 3 campuses, albeit Creekview still at 100%. We knew all along that it wasn't until the Relief campus was to be built that would really bring some true relief into those neighborhoods. And again, one of our guiding principles, and this I believe is in our policy FC local, one of our guiding principles is to really to minimize the impact of rezoning on students. For transparency and context, the current students that are in 4th grade are the only ones in the elementary campus right now that were impacted by this 2022 move. Those students were kindergarten in 2021. And so I know that you've received possibly some communication, explaining students have been moved 4 times in that area. That's really since the opening of those campuses, starting with Creekside Forest in 2012. And so the last time that these neighborhoods were rezoned was in 2022 to really address overcrowding at Creekview. So thank you for allowing me that history lesson. We're going to jump back into the parent survey. So on October 23rd, as committed to last year at this dais here talking about the phase 2 implementation, we were going to survey parents asking for their feedback. We did just that. Surveys were administered through the Home Access Center to ensure that only parents in those specific neighborhoods provided feedback. We did not want distractions in the data, so we wanted some clarity what parents were asking for. And I would just tell you there was a 97% response, a positive response rate of staying at their current campus. So all but 3 responses indicated we like the campus that we're at, we'd like to stay. They prioritize community connection and consistency for their students over previously expressed concerns of safety and proximity. So in essence, folks in Tiburon wanted to stay at Timber Creek, and individuals that were already at Creekview wanted to stay. And so considering that long-term relief is coming with the 5th grade addition at Creekside Park Junior High, we did have the flexibility. And in our parent letter that we shared to parents, we recognize being able to listen to the parent feedback is not a luxury that we're always able to afford every community, because really those 2 neighborhoods were similar in size. It's not going to tilt the scale either way for either campus, leaving them where they currently are. And so we were glad to, I'm going to move forward with this next slide based on the data, to pause our recommendation for the elementary implementation of district zone reset. We will continue to monitor that data for campuses if they do have an uptick in enrollment, or conversely, if we see one campus that is not sufficiently utilizing capacity, there are some adjustments. We've already indicated what communities could or neighborhoods could be moved, and we can look at those down the line. But for clarity, for the 2026-27 school year, all elementary students will remain, this will be our recommendation as administration, that they will remain in current place. High school boundary adjustments for District Zone Reset Phase 3 will remain for implementation. So let's go ahead and actually jump to that. Here is the map for Phase 3 high school, our plans for the opening of Tomball West High School. Here is our projected enrollment. Some key ideas here. Tomball West High School will reach full 9-12 enrollment in 2028-29 school year. Again, with the expected expansion, you heard from Rocky talk a little bit about the slowdown at the secondary level. What we have seen in our newer builds as one of the final points that he made, when you have a new campus, that does seem to spur more housing development and activity in that area. And so we do anticipate a quick rise in enrollment. And you see that after 6 years. Potentially what we're projecting is that Tomball West High School would be bigger than Tomball Memorial. Again, some of the comments that Rocky just highlighted here are the factors behind a more conservative revision based on the data. In case you are wondering, about 15 years ago when we opened Tomball Memorial, what was the enrollment for Tomball Memorial? There you have it. It is 843 students we opened with 9th and 10th grade. And just like all of the developed land around Memorial, that was a quick turnaround, faster than developers had even told us they were going to be building. And many of you either have seen that or lived it through that to know the rapid increase. And so we do anticipate that on the southwest part of the district.
Dr. G, thank you for putting that in there, that 843. I think that definitely adds context for people who don't remember that. But the 855 is not inclusive, am I correct, of the Taffy kids and any transfer kids. So we will easily see potentially over another 100, perhaps 100
Absolutely.
students. So it could
Absolutely.
actually be 955.
That is,
that correct?
Probably a more realistic number.
Thank you for
Shooting
that.
for a little bit of conservative number and all of that, but those are
Correct.
factors to be considered.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's a great number. Great.
Capacity for Tomball West is,
3,000.
okay, so our utilization rate upon opening is,
Zach, 24, 25%. Is that wrong? I mean, math.
30 something.
There you go.
It will actually be 955. So base
Okay.
it off of that, 3,955.
Call it 33%.
so I was coming in, so based on our last discussion, we challenged you a little bit to say, if Jim Ross were here, we talk
And
about,
he is.
Jim Ross is here.
Jim Ross is here.
Oh my God, I'm
Don't
gonna,
talk
I'm
about
gonna,
Jim,
yeah,
he's here.
seriously, maybe I'd rethink what I was gonna say. No,
He'd probably appreciate it.
we need to consider the
Sure.
building utilization.
Absolutely.
And I have a number of 60% in my head because I'm Jim Ross trained. That's not 60%. And so
Yeah, it's
only
only
two grade levels.
Freshman, sophomore, and that's how we started Tomball Memorial.
Okay.
Every high school, actually,
So
for the
let's
most
project
part,
that
goes
out.
that
So
way.
we'll hit 60% utilization,
Of 2 grade levels.
2 grade levels.
Zach, do your math.
28.
Well, it's right there, 28, 29.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
by the time you get all 4 grades there, plus your taffy kids, you'll be over
I guess I was-
60%,
Over that.
67%.
So I exceeded the 60%.
Yes. Okay, got it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
But actually, that is a great segue
Yeah, that
because,
is.
you may see like, hey, that's a small number, although, hey, we're higher than how we opened Memorial. I wouldn't fault folks if they ask this question. Did we need to build Tomball West High School? Because there may be folks that you hear from say, hey, I could fit in that school, and why did I need to do that?
It's never been a question that
Never
I've
been a
heard.
question, but I just wanted to open that can of worms and answer definitively, yes. We did need Tomball West High School this year, coming up next year, and in the future. Just want to point to projected enrollment for all high school capacity. So next year, basically, without Tomball West High School, we would be at 99% capacity. At Tomball Memorial, we're already at 108 capacity, but that would increase all the way up to 119%. So I think this chart here, just quickly, and I just highlighted those because I know, again, those may be some folks you might be hearing from, but I think this indicates loud and clearly that Tomball West High School is needed.
Stephen, going back one slide, and I'm going to ask you a question that you may not have at your fingertips, but what was the enrollment the year prior, what was the enrollment at Tomball High School the year prior to opening Memorial?
I do not have that number off the top of my head, but
I
if,
think it was around 36, was it, Jim? You remember? So, yeah. I think it was around 3,600
which
kids.
will almost be right at capacity because Tomball High School is about 3,600 capacity.
No, Kevin, you're saying no, you think it was lower?
About 3,300.
You think it was when Memorial opened? Okay, Karen okay. So I was off by a couple hundred, okay. So we're actually, Tomball High School will be a little bit larger right now than it was the year before we split Memorial off. Okay. Okay, thanks.
Awesome. So in December, as I mentioned earlier, we will bring this item to you for approval, and this is to approve the high school attendance boundaries effective for the 26-27 school year as recommended by administration.
Fielding parent questions, and I feel like it's an opportunity for us as a district to communicate or remind what the tenets were on rezoning. Meaning, if you fit this criteria, you were in this map, at this point, you're defaulted to go to that school. Or if you have a child that's going to be in the 9th grade at Tomball High School or Tomball Memorial and they're zoned to Tomball West, you know, I'm seeing grandfathering clause being asked for things that aren't grandfather claused. And so I think we need to remind folks where's our FAQ, right, that can help people. We have it. I know you published it 2 years ago. So I think we need to resurface that and get it out, because I think it's a couple years out. We'll worry about it then, right? Well, guess what? Now we're getting into that, and I think there's an opportunity for a reminder on what were the tenets, what did we say on how this was going to work, and if you were, you know, zoned to Tomball West, here's the criteria. You have a sibling or, you know, whatever those things were.
Absolutely. Pending board approval in December, we already have a draft letter that's ready to go out to all of the parents that are going to be zoned to Tomball West High School. And it'll have clearly those also transfer exceptions. But also, just for the record, the only student transfer exceptions that will be allowed for Tomball West High School is the sibling transfer. So you'd either have to be a 9th and 10th grader that has a sibling in the 11th or 12th grade, which is consistent with what we have done in the past. There are some instances where we've extended that early for an 8th grade student who didn't need to leave to go to Grand Lake, stayed at Tomball Junior, because they'll be staying at Tomball High School. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that as it relates to athletics here shortly, if there are no questions about the actual zones or enrollment for Phase 3.
Stephen, could you go back to the elementary? So, one more. Okay, right here. So, what does this chart look like if we say fall of 2026? With respect to, now the 5th grade is going to Creekside Park, and you're keeping the attendance zones as they currently are today. What does that, what's the column for fall 2026 look like?
For all of these, all three of these, give me just 1 second, and I will give you the latest projection for Creekside Elementary campuses.
And really, the percent is good enough. You don't have to give me the absolute number.
I do have an absolute number, but I can convert that. Zach, while I'm spitting these out, you'll give me, please, capacity numbers. So for the 26-27 school year, Creekside Forest is 506 students, and that is a capacity of 714. Creekview Elementary projected 687 with a capacity of 920. And lastly, Timber Creek Elementary 784, also with a capacity of 920. Mr. Bowles, I hate to put you on the spot. Creekside Forest capacity utilization?
Was that your first one?
Yes, sir.
70.8%.
71%. Creekview?
75%.
75%.
Timber Creek?
Yes, sir.
85%.
85%. So as this chart, to follow that chart, it would be 75, 71, and 85% respectively.
Creekview is 71% or Creekview 74? Or 75?
Creekview is 75,
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
and Creekside Forest is 71. Timber Creek is 85%.
Okay. Okay, Terry, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we've talked about what the zones are going to look like. Let's talk briefly what life will be like at Tomball West High School in relation to athletics and fine arts. And so, real quick, as we start, I do want to acknowledge all of the folks here. We have some individuals here that had a hand in shaping this. Specifically, I'd like to acknowledge our Tomball West High School principal, Kevin Williams, our athletic director, Chris Scott, who's not here. He is in Temple rooting on our Lady Cougs for volleyball. Our former athletic director, Vince Sebo, all of our secondary campus athletic coordinators, Dr. Mindy Munoz as well. And so we reviewed what we did about 15 years ago with Tomball Memorial High School. What did we do with those 843 students and growing as it relates to athletics? We also used our network to reach out to nearby athletic directors and districts to gain perspective on what they did in opening a new high school. What we're proposing with the 9th and 10th grade in our offerings is consistent with what we did at Tomball Memorial and what is consistent across our area and the state. What we considered in looking at athletic offerings, considering providing our students with opportunities to compete for competitiveness, but also taking a look at student athlete safety, considering we are opening with 9th and 10th grade. That does come into play with football, which is really that second to last bullet point beginning at Tomball West High School for the 26-27 school year. All individual and team sports except for football will be offered at the varsity level. I don't list all of the ones here, so in your mind, anything that we are offering at Tomball High School or Tomball Memorial for boys and girls athletics will be offered at the varsity level except football. I will have another slide to talk in depth a little bit about football. Again, due to the fact that we are offering the same program offerings in athletics, we are not removing opportunities for students to compete at the highest level. Athletic transfers or exceptions or grandfathering outside of sibling transfers that have already been discussed will not be allowed. And so let's talk a little bit about football. I have at the top here, we have boxes around 2 years. That's to kind of coincide with our football realignment schedule of 2 years. So during the first alignment schedule, which we are about to enter with the 26-27 school year, 27-28, we will be with the numbers that we have submitted, the 855 and the 1.25 multiplier that the UIL will apply. Most likely we will be a 4A high school, classification 4A, that will last for the 2 years. I did put an asterisk on the second year, 26-27. That's not really for football purposes because that 4A designation will last for the 2 years of alignment. But every other sport, all other sports except football, go through an annual realignment. And so based on that potential number of 1340, we could be 4A in football, but 5A in everything else. That will take us to the 27-28 school year when we will be having a varsity football team. We will, because we are jumping in mid realignment cycle there, we'll be playing what's called an outlaw schedule. So we won't be in a specific district. We'll be picking up a full slate of games, varsity level games. We will keep in mind things like travel because we want to make sure that we are, again, playing for a campuses, for a teams in this greater area. And so we do recognize this may incur a little bit of extra travel. Also, another important point, just for we're looking ahead, because we are not in a district, an outlaw schedule will not produce playoff opportunities that first year. It will not be until we go to that purple or fuchsia box here, the next realignment cycle, when we have our first full year of 9 through 12. We will submit our classification numbers there, and most likely, based on what we're projecting, will be 5A at that time. Again, another asterisk there, the 29-30 year, because potentially we could also be 6A sports there. Just one note there, I know I didn't do a good job of hiding that in case you're reading ahead, but to the last realignment cycle there, in the 5th and 6th years, this would be the first time potentially Tomball High School, Tomball Memorial, and Tomball West High School would be in the same athletic district. And so it would be our recommendation at that time, really kind of having discussions. I know many of you have maybe asked or been asked the question, who's playing in the patriotic show? I'd say that's something that we for competitiveness and the spirit of that night, ensure that that would be best suited when all teams are in the district to have that conversation, and whether we keep it unique to Tomball High School Memorial and have a special gold game, that could be discussion or some other conversation in the 2030-31 school year. So that was athletics. I'm going to quickly jump into fine arts. I think I did acknowledge Paulette Torsia here. Also, if I missed her, this is fine arts contribution. Also, talking with additional fine arts directors and folks in the industry to find out what are the best things to offer our students. The same way that we are offering opportunities, competitive opportunities on the athletic side, we want to ensure all students have an opportunity to compete at the highest level for competition or varsity level. And so we do list out here all of the fine arts offerings that will be offered at the varsity level. And then depending on space, or participation numbers, just like we'll do in athletics, we may not have participation to say offer a varsity JV and a freshman team. We may only have a varsity and a JV, or a varsity, and we might not have a non-varsity concert band. And so there'll be a little bit of director discretion in assembling those teams, and also assessing the competitiveness to determine what type of music or pieces to perform. And so a lot of flexibility there. Again, big question now that individuals know what we're offering. When can I try out, and when can I quickly join the gold side, right? And so quickly, just some brief notes, and all of the specifics will be emailed out and sent to parents once the pending board approval, and start sending communication about the new zones. But we will have all the high school individuals at Tomball High School and Tomball Memorial in their respective disciplines participating in tryouts. They'll be facilitated, again, with those coaches, and by that time we do hope to have our directors, or our band directors, or other coaches hired or named at that point to also participate. And this will, again, ensure that we have enough time in preparation. There's a lot of work that goes into next year already. I know we finished our marching band season, and they're already into selection for next year's pieces. And so we want to ensure that we're setting up Tomball West High School for success on the staffing front. This is something, this is listed under fine arts, but also this is a blanket statement for fine arts and athletics. We do recognize, as we're offering competitive opportunities for students, we are competing against schools and individuals that are offering a 9 through 12 student body. And so whether it be a matter of numbers, physical maturity, all of those things, we do recognize that our students may have some early setbacks, but if you consider what that will build in our students, the resiliency, a potential 4-year starter, a 3-year band major, someone with experience, a little bit of grit, tenacity, and that, again, that resiliency that's going to feed the gold culture, right? And so the gold standard. Thank you. I saw Kevin Williams looking at me saying, right, sir. Thank you. And so we want to ensure that we're setting that culture, but again, students will have that opportunity to compete, to have opportunities, and I think it's an exciting time to be a Tiger. So with that, I open it up to any questions over all the content that was shared today.
Mr. White.
Just want to get clarification on the athletic portion. So if there's students at Tomball Memorial or Tomball High who's currently on the varsity level team, they still will have to attend West if they're zoned to that school.
So I'm assuming that that person then is a freshman right now, so they'd be a sophomore, so they'd be subject to the grade levels that would be required to move. Because we're offering those same athletic opportunities, that student, if zoned to West, will be required to go to West.
Okay, thank you.
I'm curious, what are the potential 4A schools that we would be competing against next year?
I don't have those on the top of my head. Let me see, Mr. 4A, do you have? Yeah, do you have, sorry. Purely speculative exercise, but we can certainly list off a couple 4A campuses that are in the nearby area.
We can go Division III or Division II. So it just depends on where the numbers, because there's 32 teams in each division. My projection is, and this is what they did 15 years ago when we opened Tomball Memorial. I wasn't here, but I followed it. We played the Houston ISD schools, was the travel that we were engaged in.
All right.
Get this information out is my strongest underscore, because our community is hungry for it. And so while it's subject to change, this is a current posture, current position. So this is fantastic. I think setting expectations like this, which is what I was getting at earlier, let's go. Let's get it out, and we'll deal with exceptions or hopefully none, frankly.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is the only report that we have for the evening, so I will turn the meeting right back over to you, Dr. Pratt.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And by the way, how exciting. This is awesome. Tomball West, Gold Side, Tigers. Here we go. We are less than a year away.
Yes.
We are T-minus, Kevin, what, T-minus 9 months, 8 months?
Yeah, but think about what he's got to do between now and then. He's got
Thank you.
course selection, he's got staffing the building, yeah.
Couldn't think of a better person to solve all those problems, John. Okay, board, that concludes the reports as per the superintendent, and thank you for that. We will now move into the business agenda. We have the consent agenda, and then we have the considered agenda. I understand that there has been a request to move on the consent agenda item D, which item D is the approval of the proposed library material and donation acquisitions. So I will honor that and move that out of the consent agenda. And then certainly when we get to the considered agenda, we will discuss and consider the proposed library material and donation acquisition separately from this consent agenda. And so at this time, with the exception of item D, do I now have a motion regarding the consent agenda, again with the exception of the proposed library material and donation acquisitions?
I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the proposed library material and donation acquisitions.
Okay. Second. Second. Motion made by Mrs. Cracky, seconded by Mr. Lewandowski. Okay. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding the consent agenda?
Hey, Michael, I don't have a question, but I do want to take a minute. So often we kind of scan through these PTO donations, and we have one for $8,294 and one for $28,000. And that's like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So I think just a thank you to the parents that collaborate with our, when I see those numbers, I think of fun runs and spirit nights with our local businesses. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, the Creekview Elementary money was for a 9-square court, which I think is awesome for the kids.
Okay, so any questions for the superintendent? If none, any other discussion? Hearing none, a motion's been made and it's been seconded to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the proposed library material and donation acquisitions. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Now we will take up the proposed library material and donation acquisitions. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the proposed library material donation acquisitions with the exception of books numbered 62, 63, 137, and 203.
Can you repeat those numbers, Jennifer?
62, 63, 137, 203.
Thanks.
And that's just for further review.
Do we have a second? Okay, hearing none. This item fails. Yep. Okay. Proceeding forward with the consent agenda. Approve the amendments, item B, approve the amendments, correction. Item A, the original item A, approve the purchase and installation of impact-resistant film for instructional facilities from Entry Shield in the amount not to exceed $337,429 using Safety and Facilities Enhancement Grant. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion was made by Mr. McStravick, seconded by Mrs. Bass. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding this item before I open up the floor for discussion? Okay, hearing none, is there any discussion by the board for the board? Hearing none, a motion has been made and it's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item B, approve amendments to the high school course selection catalog. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lewandowski, and I have a second from Mrs. Cracky. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding this item before I open the floor for discussion?
So Martha, I'd just like to say I appreciate you and your team's continued efforts to get those pathways aligned, get options that are within the pathways. We had some good discussions yesterday in the special meeting with respect to CTE. I know that a lot of these changes deal with that, but kudos to you and your team for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Any discussion by the board for the board? Hearing none, a motion's been made and has been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And the motion carries unanimously. Item C, approve amendments to the junior high course selection catalog. Motion made by Mr. White, seconded by Mr. McStravick. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent before I open up the floor for discussion? Hearing none, any discussion by the board for the board? A motion has been made and it has been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I've got a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. 7-4-0 against. Item E, approve an increase of $289,962.45 to DLR Group's Service Order Number 2, aligning the final contract for architectural services at the Early Excellence Academy with final accepted construction cost per the contract originally approved in May 2022. This contract amount will increase from the initial estimated amount of $794,875 to $1,084,837.45 using Bond 2021 funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion was made by Mr. McStravick, seconded by Mrs. Bass. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding this item before I open the floor for discussion? Hearing none, is there any discussion by the board for the board? Okay, a motion's been made and has been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item F, approve the purchase of the fire panel replacements at 8 facilities from VSC Fire and Security Incorporated in the amount of $1,137,000, utilizing purchasing cooperative TIPS 240-20301, using bond 2025 funds. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion was made by Mrs. Bass, seconded by Mr. White. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding this item before I open the floor for discussion? Hearing none, is there any discussion by the board for the board? Okay, a motion's been made, it's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Item G, approve an amendment to the 2025-2026 compensation plan for bus drivers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion was made by Mrs. Salem, seconded by Mr. McStravick. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent? Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and finish this one, and I'll come back to
F. D. Or D.
okay, let's address that next. I'll take a look at where we are. So we're on item G. We have a motion by Mrs. Salem. It's been seconded by Mr. McStravick. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding the item before I open the floor for discussion?
I'd just like to thank the superintendent and transportation team for taking a look at this and being able to help resolve some of the issues we've been having. So hopefully we'll also look at the process and procedures that we need to also update in that. And so much thanks.
Thank you, and a big thank to our finance team that helped find a way to make this possible during a non-usual budget cycle, per se. I'm very proud of really putting this forward because I think it's important for our staff.
Hey, Dr. Z, there was a question last evening, and I just have a document here that I think outlines that. So,
Yes, sir.
The question was in regard to those that are existing drivers, the full-time drivers. What would they receive as an increase to their hourly rate?
Yes, sir.
Could you expand? Could you answer that?
Along with the increase in starting pay to attract new drivers, all existing full-time drivers would receive a $5.90 increase to their hourly rate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of the superintendent? Any discussion by the board for the board? Okay, hearing none. We have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Let's go, Sandy. Let's go. Let's go.
You can breathe now, Sandy.
Okay, Mr. White,
D.
I missed item D. Thank you for calling me out on that. We'll resolve that and go to that now. Item D, approve the recommendation to select Dean Co. Incorporated under RFP number 984-25 as the general contractor to complete the Harris County Flood Control Channel Extension at the West Complex for $4,061,130 with a total construction budget of $4,500,000 using bond 2021 funds. Do I have a motion?
Second.
A motion was made by Mr. White, seconded by Mrs. Salem. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent regarding this item before I open the floor for discussion? Hearing none, any discussion by the board for the board? A motion has been made, it's been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you again, Mr. White, I appreciate that. Okay, stepping forward into item H. It is recommended that the Board of Education render a finding under the Texas Administrative Code, Section 2491.4G, that good cause did not exist as required by the Texas Education Code, Sections 21.105C, 21.160C, or 21.210C for the following educator, Jessica Rivera, to resign her employment contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion was made by Mr. McStravick, seconded by Mrs. Bass. Do any board members have any additional questions of the superintendent before we open the floor for discussion? Hearing none, is there any discussion by the board for the board? A motion's been made and has been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Point of information, President, may I attempt my motion again with an explanation for yet other members?
Okay.
Do what?
So there's been a request to make a motion on the item that failed, that was at the start of the considered agenda. So probably going to need some Robert's Rules assistance here.
Well, I mean, if Jennifer will make the motion, I'll second it.
Just to explain for anyone in the audience, we removed one piece off the consent agenda, moved it down to considered agenda. I'm simply making a motion to approve the library acquisition list and pulling a small handful of titles off the list for further review, which Dr. Zamora has already said her team would do. So that's what the motion is, to explain that. So I move to approve the proposed library material and donation acquisitions with the exception of books numbered 62, 63, 137, and 203.
So I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and it has been seconded to request that on the proposed library material and donation acquisitions to remove items 62, 63, 137, and 203. So at this time, does anybody have any questions for the superintendent on this item before we open up the floor for discussion?
So Martha, could you explain what the process would be? We had I believe on this particular item, there was, 200 and something books?
Several, many books.
Yeah, so we would be approving the
All of
list.
them.
With the exception of 62, 63, 137, and 203. So what's the process with respect to those four books?
So with those four, and I do have the titles, but we went with numbers just for, to reduce complexity. I've already met with Dr. Webb, and the plan would be to have the review committee that has been in place prior to even the state recommendation that this happen, review it for a number of things. They look at appropriateness, they look at age appropriateness, they look at content, they look at a number of things and determine, is this a book, A, that we want in a Tomball library, okay? And if it is it a book that we have at the appropriate campus? Is it a book that perhaps isn't appropriate for an intermediate child, but would be appropriate for a junior high or high school, depending again on content? Or is it a book that is appropriate and is at the correct placement? There's a number of things they look at beyond that, but that's basically the litmus test. Did I leave anything off, Dr. Webb, that you'd like to add?
That's correct. We would look at reviews of the book. We would continue to look at the appropriateness and the suitability in light of the new library book policy that was passed by this board just 2 months ago.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Webb.
So, quick question. Goes through the process. If one of them is said it's not appropriate or they don't want to renew it, it just goes away.
Correct.
The other three or four, depending on what it is, what happens to them? Are they come back to the board?
They would need to come back for the approval.
Would that be separate or in the next month's?
It would be in a future meeting. We could probably review these four relatively quickly.
Yeah, we can review remove the four now. We can
review them soon, but I guess by even next board meeting, perhaps.
But would they be
They would be put aside and not purchased, in other words, because this is for purchase.
I think what he's asking is your list, you would just add them back to the
Oh.
next
Add 'em
round.
to the
Correct.
next
Yes,
list.
sir. We would add them to the next round of approvals.
Yeah, I was asking that, or
Sorry.
whether it'd be.
I wasn't going with you.
looked at
I
separately.
understand. Correct.
But the other, actually, I think it's more than 250 books. I think it's, one list is 100 and something, one's 2 something. So the other 300 and some odd books would then move, have been
Correct.
approved.
Would be approved if you.
And the acquisitions and donations can go forward.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Got it.
That is accurate.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the questions for the superintendent. Any discussion by the board for the board? Okay, so a motion has been made and it's been seconded. So let's be crisp. The motion that was made would be that we approve the proposed library material and donation acquisitions with the exception of books numbered 62, 63, 137, and 203. Any discussion by the board for the board? I think I covered that already. We got the motion, it's been seconded, so we're going to go vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So, Board, as I shared, we will be moving into closed session. But before I did that, I wanted to create an opportunity, a moment, for any board member that would like to make board comments before we step into closed session. Mr. McStravick.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Pratt. So, no, just real quick, I just wanted to say with respect to everyone that's worked on the DZR and with respect to West High School, so thank you, Fine Arts, Athletics, Stephen, you and your team, appreciate all the work that's gone into this, all the thought. I've been on this board with the opening of another high school in the district, and I know there's a lot of work that goes into it. Kevin, I didn't mean to exclude you, so I appreciate what you're doing, with the ultimate goal being to open that high school with as few kinks and hiccups as possible. So thank you all for your efforts in that. And I know we got a ways to go, but thank you for continuing in that effort. Thank you.
And John, it's always nice to see Vince Sebo as well. So anytime we can figure out a way to.
You were included in athletics, Vince.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Cracky.
Yeah, I wore my gold shirt because I'm very excited about Tomball West opening, and I really love Dr. Gutierrez's points about grit and experience, and hopefully my son will be one of those playing on a 4A team of some sport. So very excited.
Very exciting. Okay, Mr. Lewandowski, you got anything?
Yeah, again, I'd like to thank the administration and Zach and transportation for working on the bus driver issue and some of the transportation problems we've seen at the beginning of the year with new stuff being added. I can understand that. And secondly, we won't see you until December, so happy Thanksgiving. Be safe if you're traveling. Travel safely and enjoy the holiday.
So, Board of Trustees, we will now convene in a closed meeting for purposes authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, including but not limited to the following sections and purposes. Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with board attorney regarding all matters as authorized by law. Texas Government Code 551.072, deliberation regarding purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Texas Government Code 551.074, deliberation regarding appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. And Texas Government Code 551.076, deliberation regarding security personnel or devices. No voting will take place in the closed session. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. The time is now 6:48 p.m. Central. We will now move into closed session.
Cougars win first set.
The board will now reconvene in open meeting. The time is now 7:17 PM Central Time. We have already had an opportunity for board comments, and so at this time, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A motion was made by Mr. Lewandowski, seconded by Mr. White. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Meeting is concluded.